Jeffrey Epstein. The name itself conjures images of opulence, shadowy dealings, and deeply buried secrets. He was more than just a financier rubbing shoulders with the elite. Behind the lavish mansions and private jets lay a sinister web of alleged exploitation and abuse. Jeffrey Epstein, a New York billionaire businessman, was frequently accused of engaging in sexual encounters and abuse with young women and girls. It didn't stop because we were in the air. Jeffrey would ejaculate on a 2-hour flight, so prepare yourself for the truth, warned an opening statement, promising to shatter carefully constructed veils of secrecy. Juan Alessi, who cleaned and maintained Jeffrey Epstein's residences for over a decade, offered a glimpse into this hidden world. He shared his experiences with the wealthy financier and his companion Ghislaine Maxwell. From cleaning and repairs to managing staff and overseeing the pool, Alessi was responsible for keeping the properties immaculate and running smoothly. His duties ranged from mundane chores to errands and shopping. Early on, he encountered Maxwell, who quickly became his primary point of contact. He understood her to be the one in charge, the lady of the house in his words, clearly indicating that she would manage the household. The world, already fractured by accusations and legal battles, was poised for what Alessi described as a whirlwind of intense preparation whenever Epstein was expected. The houses would undergo meticulous cleaning, every bedroom's linens replaced, including Epstein's own. Groceries would be stocked, and crucially, Epstein's cars parked at the property would be concealed, especially those containing $100 bills. Alessi noted Maxwell and Epstein's meticulous preparations over time. As time passed, Juan Alessi observed a significant shift in his relationship with his employer, Epstein. Initially, Alessi and Epstein would engage in casual conversation. However, this personal interaction gradually diminished. Alessi further recounted a striking change in Epstein's behavior towards him. He stated that Maxwell had instructed him to speak only when directly addressed by Epstein. Even then, Alessi was told to keep his responses brief and impersonal. This shift in communication style transcended face-to-face interactions. Instead of speaking directly to Alessi in the house, Epstein would send written messages through his New York office. However, as Alessi's tenure progressed, he observed an increasing frequency of massages, escalating to 3 times a day. Alessi explained that these massage appointments were arranged by Maxwell herself or assistant Sarah, Karen, or other staff members. Alessi detailed the process of organizing these massages, which involved contacting potential therapists from a contact list. He would inquire about their availability at specific times and then relay the information to Maxwell for final approval. Among the individuals Alessi encountered was a young woman named Jane, a pseudonym. He described her as a captivatingly beautiful girl with long dark hair and striking eyes. Alessi mentioned welcoming Jane to the house on several occasions. Upon her arrival, he would escort her to Ghislaine Maxwell's office on the first floor. He also recalled Jane's name being listed among the massage therapists he used to schedule appointments. Alessi also drove Jane and Virginia, along with Epstein and Maxwell, to the airport on various occasions. He stated that he even accompanied them onto the tarmac. Alessi clarified that Donald Trump always ate in the kitchen, separate from the dining table where other guests might sit. Furthermore, Alessi emphasized that Trump never received massages nor stayed overnight at the residence. Beyond these details, Alessi vividly depicted his time working for Epstein. He described a life governed by numerous rules. Specific protocols dictated everything from setting the dining table to addressing members of the Epstein and Maxwell household. He received a 58-page manual from Maxwell, meticulously outlining every detail. One of the most striking rules in the manual was a mantra. See nothing, hear nothing, say nothing unless asked a direct question. Alessi felt immense pressure. He became someone who saw nothing and heard nothing, never initiating questions or acknowledging anything beyond his immediate tasks. He admitted feeling incredibly drained, unable to bear the constant mental and emotional strain of adhering to such a restrictive environment. It was the biggest mistake of my life, he stated. Another Jeffrey Epstein employee who spoke openly was Maria Farmer. An artist pursuing her graduate studies in the mid-1990s, Maria experienced a seemingly fortunate breakthrough. She managed to sell one of her artworks directly from her studio for $20,000, a significant achievement for a young artist. This led to Maria finding herself face-to-face with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, an introduction facilitated by the college dean, Eileen Guggenheim. Initially, it seemed promising. Epstein, a known art collector, expressed interest in purchasing one of Maria's paintings. However, the details of his offer were unsettling. He proposed a $20,000 commission, contingent on Maria and several other artists relocating to Santa Fe, New Mexico, for a year. This was a substantial figure, and the pressure from a potential patron and school officials put Maria in a difficult position. Even before this meeting, Maria was aware of Epstein's presence in the art world. He frequently attended college events, and he and Maxwell were known as generous art patrons. This made their interest in Maria's work seem potentially beneficial, an opportunity to escape their studios and explore the artistic haven of Santa Fe. But beneath the surface of artistic inspiration and cultural immersion lurked something far more sinister. He would push boundaries, probing the depths of artistic ambition. Epstein presented an unusual proposition. One artist would receive a prestigious commission to create a significant artwork for his New Mexico property. In contrast, the Santa Fe trip left the artists confused and shaken. The experience cast a shadow over their artistic aspirations and raised disturbing questions about Epstein and Maxwell's intentions. During this time, Maria also interacted with Chuck Close, Ross Bleckner, and Damian Loeb, who served as Epstein's art advisors. Her involvement in Epstein's financial transactions indicated a degree of trust and closeness within Epstein's inner circle. However, Maria's role quickly shifted. She recounted instances where Maxwell would ask her to accompany young women to Epstein's residences, ostensibly to make them feel more comfortable. This detail highlighted Maxwell's frequent departures to recruit girls for Epstein, underscoring her role in facilitating Epstein's sexual abuse. A particularly disturbing revelation in Maria's testimony was the existence of hidden cameras in the mansion. These cameras were pointed towards beds and toilets, a blatant invasion of privacy, suggesting the potential recording of private moments. Maria also witnessed lawyer Alan Dershowitz visiting Epstein's New York home regularly. While the nature and purpose of these visits remained unclear, they added another layer to the complex network of individuals connected to Epstein and potentially aware of his activities. Commissioned to create 2 artworks for the film Pollock in her small New York apartment, Maria faced the challenge of finding adequate space. Epstein offered a solution. An artist residency at Les Wexner's estate in Licking County, Ohio, a sprawling property with numerous guest houses. Maria found this residence guarded by Wexner's armed security, and she was forbidden from leaving without explicit permission from Wexner's wife, Abigail Wexner. Facing this traumatic situation, Maria managed to flee to another part of the house, barricading the door with furniture and locking herself inside. In a state of fear and desperation, she contacted her family, her mentor, artist Eric Fischel, and even attempted to reach the authorities. Instead of immediate help, Maria faced another obstacle. Security informed her that she could not leave, detaining her against her will for 12 hours. Her only hope came from her father, who drove from Kentucky to Ohio upon hearing the distressing news, retrieving her and taking her away from the estate. Later that summer, Maria discovered that her sister, Annie, had also been sexually assaulted by Epstein. In a 2020 lawsuit against Epstein's estate for illicit activities, Maria detailed that agonizing encounter. Furthermore, Annie Farmer claimed that Ghislaine Maxwell provided Epstein with a topless massage during the same incident, an inappropriate act that facilitated the abuse. During her research, journalist Vicky Ward encountered the Farmer sisters, Maria and Annie, and their mother Janice. These brave women shared their experiences with Epstein, alleging misconduct and potential abuse. However, to their shock and dismay, their accounts were omitted when Ward's Vanity Fair article was finally published. Ward later claimed that she faced pressure from Epstein during the publication process, describing unsettling signals she received, such as a bullet being sent to her home and a dead cat being thrown outside the Vanity Fair office. Around the same time, they were considering expanding the investigation into Epstein. The omission of the Farmer sisters' story had a chilling effect. The chilling shadow cast by Maria's experiences with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell extended far beyond their initial encounters. Maria's confidant, Val, corroborated her account, testifying that Maria shared these disturbing details shortly after they occurred. These threats were intended to silence her permanently, not only regarding her own experiences, but also regarding her professional life. To escape the pervasive fear and rebuild her life, Maria made a drastic decision. She left the New York art scene and moved to the southeastern United States. For 24 years, she chose a quieter existence, selling antiques, renovating houses, and maintaining a low profile. Maria carried the weight of her experiences alone, watching Epstein build his reputation and power, while her voice remained unheard. But the embers of her story never truly died, waiting for the right moment to reignite. Just before Epstein's first arrest on sex trafficking charges, the FBI reappeared at her door, wanting to hear her story. However, despite her cooperation, the matter seemed to vanish once more, with no apparent progress. Another glimmer of hope emerged with another alleged Epstein victim, Virginia Giuffre, who still lived under a cloud of fear. She bravely recounted her encounters with Epstein and Maxwell to investigators Stanley Pottinger and Bradley Edwards. But it wasn't until early 2019 that a true turning point arrived. A brain tumor diagnosis served as a stark wake-up call for Farmer. Confronting her mortality, she recognized the profound impact the abuse and years of hiding had had on her and her family. This intense realization ignited a fierce determination within her to break the silence. She felt it was time to reclaim her voice, speak her truth, and ensure that these horrific acts would no longer remain shrouded in darkness. Stepping out of the shadows, she publicly confronted her past. Jeffrey Epstein, who moved with ease among celebrities and politicians, traversing luxurious mansions seemingly untouchable, finally saw his reign of terror come to an end in July 2019. Not through a dramatic raid or public expose, but through a quiet arrest on sex trafficking and conspiracy charges. This pivotal moment was not solely the result of tireless investigators or tenacious journalists. It was the culmination of many individuals stepping out of the shadows, choosing to speak the horrors they had witnessed. However, Epstein never faced his victims in court. In August 2019, he was found dead in his jail cell, an apparent suicide that left many with a bitter taste of injustice. In December 2021, Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted, but a chilling thought lingered. Epstein was far from the only predator operating under the cloak of power and privilege. Others with influence and wealth continue to exploit the vulnerable with impunity. What can we, as individuals and as a society, do to ensure that no one, regardless of their background or connections, is above the law when it comes to such heinous crimes? Virginia Giuffre's harrowing testimony. In the early 2000s, Virginia Giuffre's life took a devastating turn after encountering Ghislaine Maxwell at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, where Virginia was working at the spa. Maxwell seized the opportunity to engage Virginia in conversation, inquiring about her interest in massage. She then used this opening to groom her into providing massages for Jeffrey Epstein. Notably, Maxwell assured Virginia that no prior experience was necessary. Upon arriving at Epstein's Palm Beach residence, Virginia witnessed a disturbing scene. Epstein lay naked, and Maxwell, acting as a guide, instructed Virginia on what to do. Based on her initial impression of their friendliness, Virginia trusted them, sharing her turbulent life story, revealing her status as a runaway who had experienced sexual and physical abuse. Tragically, this became a pivotal moment, as Virginia believes it made her vulnerable to exploitation. According to Virginia, Jeffrey revealed that she was being coerced into providing sexual services while being deceived into believing she was becoming a legitimate massage therapist. Between 2000 and 2002, Virginia spent a significant amount of time with Jeffrey and Maxwell. She accompanied them to several luxurious locations, primarily residing in large houses in Palm Beach and Manhattan. There were also occasional trips to Epstein's Little St. James Island and his ranch in New Mexico. During these 2.5 years, Virginia recounted a series of disturbing experiences. She felt dehumanized, as if she were an object to be used and discarded at their whim. In one interview, she described being trafficked like a piece of property. For her, it was a terrifying and degrading experience. In March 2001, she was taken to meet Prince Andrew, a member of the British royal family. At the time, she felt vulnerable and trapped within Epstein and Maxwell's web. A photograph allegedly taken that evening has since become widely known, showing Prince Andrew with his arm around Virginia's waist. According to Virginia's account, after a night out at a club, Maxwell made a chilling statement. "You have to do for Andrew what you do for Jeffrey." This placed Virginia in a deeply vulnerable and uncomfortable position. Virginia subsequently filed a lawsuit against Prince Andrew, alleging that he sexually assaulted her on 3 occasions. Once that night at Maxwell's London home and later at 2 of Epstein's properties, including Little St. James in the US Virgin Islands. Reflecting on the events in an interview, Virginia stated that she couldn't comprehend how adults in positions of power could not only condone such behavior, but actively participate in it. Furthermore, when questioned about the alleged sexual acts in the United States and England, Prince Andrew simply stated that they never happened. However, court documents from 2019 lent more weight to Virginia's claims. The list included prominent figures such as hedge fund manager Glenn Dubin, lawyer Alan Dershowitz, and politician Bill Richardson. Virginia's accusations against Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell extended beyond Prince Andrew. She also claimed to have seen former President Bill Clinton on Epstein's private island, Little St. James, accompanied by 2 young women. Many of those accused by Virginia, including President Clinton, denied her allegations. Seeking to escape her past, Virginia fled to Thailand to start a new life. Over time, Virginia's relationship with Epstein took a strange turn. According to Virginia, Epstein seemed to lose interest in her, possibly because he no longer considered her young enough for his exploitative purposes. Maxwell purchased a plane ticket for Virginia to attend the International Massage Training School in Chiang Mai. It appeared to Virginia that Maxwell was orchestrating a change, but the manipulative and harmful web Virginia was caught in continued. During her time at the massage school, a ray of hope emerged for Virginia. She met Robert, a fellow student. Their connection was swift and deep, and they soon married. This marked a turning point for Virginia. With Robert by her side, Virginia began a new life in Australia. They built a family, welcoming young children into their home, a stark contrast to the darkness she had left behind. In March 2005, as Virginia and her young family started their new life in Australia, a storm began brewing in Florida. The Palm Beach Police Department finally launched an investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. A 14-year-old girl and her parents came forward, accusing Epstein of sexual battery. By October 2005, more girls emerged with similar stories of abuse at Epstein's hands. Police gathered increasing evidence, obtaining a search warrant for Epstein's Palm Beach property, marking a turning point in the case. Multiple young women who came forward described a disturbing pattern of similar encounters. Allegedly, during these interactions, Epstein would request or initiate massages, which would often escalate into sexual assault. This pattern wasn't solely based on the accuser's testimonies. When police sifted through Epstein's discarded trash, they discovered incriminating notes. A particularly unsettling development was when one of the accusers reported receiving a call from Epstein's assistant while being interviewed by police, a seemingly deliberate act of contact that further raised concerns about potential intimidation and witness tampering. Virginia herself recounted a series of events that unfolded over 3 days in 2007. She found herself at the center of a whirlwind of phone calls and official inquiries. The first call came from Ghislaine Maxwell. A day later, Epstein himself emailed, both inquiring whether Virginia had disclosed their activities to anyone. The agent informed Virginia that she had been identified as a potential victim during the investigation of the initial criminal case in Florida. Despite the official contact, Virginia didn't decide to come forward and share her story until 6 months later, when the Australian Federal Police personally located her. Her testimony, along with that of other brave survivors, helped to unravel a complex and disturbing pattern of abuse, paving the way for the reckoning that continues to this day.